Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us remotely is Arthur Zaczkiewicz, who's the Executive Editor of Strategic Content Development with WWD. We're going to take a look at the impact of shoppers. When will they feel safe, and how will consumer habits be reshaped as we get on the other side of COVID-19? Arthur, it's great to have you with me. We last met for the holidays in December 2019, and we were talking about the strength of the consumer, which was really driving the economy and the markets. Never did I think that we'd be having this conversation 3 to 4 months outside of that. But, COVID-19 has really taken a hit to the consumer, particularly in the retail sector.
Yeah, I remember that conversation. We talked about two brands, right? We said that Lululemon and I think Nike were poised to do well for the holidays because, people were tending to focus on wellness. And oddly enough, I mean, I think that's still true today in this current environment. People are really concerned about, themselves and their families and their safety. So it's, we're living in very remarkable times. Unprecedented is we probably need a new word instead of unprecedented. So.
Yeah, and we can see that in the slide here talking about March sales completely off. And this doesn't even incorporate all of the data that we've seen as the crux of this is taking place now.
Right. So March was, as the onset of the COVID-19 was occurring, we had department stores down nearly 20% in sales. Fashion apparel, specialty retail is down over 50%. And then, of course, everything shifted rapidly to online, but people weren't buying clothes. Right? Fashion was a far, down the list of as far as like what people needed. And they were focusing on, essential items, sanitation, anything to clean the home, clean themselves. They were buying masks, obviously, and toilet paper and all the stuff that we read about in headlines. And online sales during, that initial week, it just skyrocketed to over 50% for total online sales. And again, I think right now it's still probably really high, but I think last week was the first time that we've seen a shift towards apparel purchases, right? So we had overall online sales kind of rising, jumping 20% and then 40%, and then it's still up there. It's around 60% year over year as far as where people shopping. It's important to note that only 12 to 14% of online sales represent full retail sales. So it's a small portion, but it's obviously the only place that's we're really seeing any momentum. But last year we did see a shift in online apparel purchases, and that last week it rose about 20%, which is good. This week, and that's revenue, that's year over year revenue. So that's a good sign.
All right. Now the question is, and this is every sector, not obviously just retail, but how safe will shoppers feel? Do you think that we'll continue to see social distancing in stores? Do you think that this is going to be a graduate, deliberate process and not just flipping on a switch and we're bottlenecking back into the city to go shopping?
Right. So you have to think about the traumatic effect that this has had on people. This is not like 9/11 where it was a singular event. People were traumatized by the news. If they witnessed it, they were traumatized. This is a prolonged, slow burn where people are being, slowly traumatized over time. So, my sense is that, with my understanding of consumer behavior, is that this is also untested and untried times. But I think we're going to see consumers be very reluctant to go back to the way things used to be. Think about walking into a department store and there's a beauty counter. How fast are you to go there today? Or let's say in August or September, and let's say we're over this, and would you go to a beauty counter? Would you interact? Would you try on makeup? Would you go into a fitting room and kind of have that experience and know where the clothing has been, or somebody sneezed on it, God forbid? That's the thoughts that will likely be running through people's minds.
Yeah, that certainly is a great point. And I often thought of, what fitting rooms would look like. And it didn't occur to me, this is someone who wears makeup every day for a living, just how that would make makeup counters like that look. And, in the large stores like the Ultas and the Sephoras, part of the attraction of going to those stores is to have fun with the makeup and test new things that you might not necessarily buy if it's a different look for you. I wonder how that changes the format. Does it become more of an AI technology-driven experience where you put your face into an application and that's how you see how colors work? I mean, that completely changes the model of how some of these stores work.
Well, that's interesting because we've had those technologies in the pipeline. I think we had talked about that once before. There are fitting technologies, there are makeup, augmented reality technologies that could actually do exactly what you said. If you want to see, a hair color or different tint or makeup or lipstick, that could be done, using your smartphone and augmented technology. So maybe that's augmented reality. So maybe that's maybe that shift towards those using those and leveraging those technologies accelerates in this current climate. The other thing you have to think about is also the store operations. You have to sanitize a store, that was not done as frequently as we'd like. So in this new environment, let's say we recover out of this, it's fall. Like how frequently do you sanitize your stores, and what kind of impact does that have on your costs? How do you maintain social distancing? Do you encourage people to social distance? Do you reconfigure your floor plan and your store layout and the ratios that you have to make sure that people are not bumping into one another?
Yeah. All right, Arthur, great to speak with you. As always, thanks so much for joining.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Okay, and thank you for joining me on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.